I'm Sayakat Cosplay and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make gloves. These are very simple 4-way stretch spandex gloves, and I used to be really bad and really disliked making gloves. I used to be bad at making gloves and I used to not like making gloves. But then I learned a really easy method of making gloves, and it only takes about 10-15 minutes for me to make a glove like this, and I'm going to show you guys how I do it and how you can make a glove like this very easily and very simply as well. To follow along with this tutorial, you are going to need a sewing machine, some 4-way stretch spandex, some pins, fabric scissors, and some other fabric working implements if you need them. If you are going to be using a different type of fabric, such as non-stretch or 2-way stretch, this tutorial is not going to work as well for those types of fabrics. This tutorial is pretty much only for 4-way stretch fabrics. It can work for 2-way stretch if you put the 2-way stretch horizontally, that means across the hand, but they probably won't come out as nicely as something with 4-way stretch. So if you don't have a spandex-like material or a 4-way stretch material, you may not want to try doing this particular method with your gloves. So the other thing that you're going to need when making a glove like this is a hand turkey, otherwise known as trace your hand. This is a hand turkey of mine that I traced onto a piece of newspaper, and it's actually pinned onto a piece of fabric right now so you can better see what that looks like. Literally just take your hand and make a turkey. You know, if you want to decorate it with little gobble gobble, go ahead. I may have done that. And so you're going to need a hand pattern, fabric, and away we go. To reiterate, you're going to need a hand turkey. I have a whole bag of them here. Ooh, hand turkeys. In addition to your hand turkey, you're going to need a 4-way stretch fabric. I have black spandex, and pins or clips and scissors, and possibly a seam ripper if you make any mistakes. The first step in making a glove is to lay your fabric out and to place your hand turkey on the fabric. The one that I'm using is actually meant for a very long glove, but I'm not going to cut the hand turkey. I'm just going to ignore the length of the glove and put it at a length where it's going to hit probably about a little past my wrist. You're going to pin each finger down, pin the palm down, and pin to where you want the length on the arm of the hand turkey. After you have pinned everything, you're going to cut the fabric out. Now the key here is you don't actually have to cut in between the fingers. By not cutting in between the fingers, it makes sewing the glove quite a bit easier, and you can go back and cut the material off after you have sewed the glove. I should have said this at the beginning before I went through everything, but make sure you are cutting out 2 layers of fabric. You need 2 layers for 2 sides of the glove. Alrighty, let's get to sewing. I am aware that my light quality on this part of the footage is bad. The LED lights on my sewing machine absolutely blow out my camera. There's not much I can do about that. The lights are great on my machine though. The first step is to follow the hand turkey, basically. Make sure you bind off at when you begin stitching. And I'm using a small zigzag stitch. I'm going slowly and I'm following the outline of the hand turkey pretty close to the paper. I'm also operating in what's called needle down mode. My machine automatically will put the needle down when the machine stops. If you don't have a machine that does this automatically, make sure to put your needle down and then raise the foot whenever you need to turn the pattern. So my machine will automatically put my needle down and raise the foot when I need to turn the pattern. So you're going to need to do this around the tips of the fingers And just go slow. You may end up going just a few stitches and then needing to turn the pattern, going a few stitches, turning. Like I said earlier, just go slow, don't rush. Follow the edge of the paper pattern. If your foot gets stuck on a pin, just slide the pin out and keep going. I am using a regular foot and a stretch needle. You may not have a stretch needle. That's okay for something like this. This isn't too persnickety or too finicky of a method of making gloves, just as long as you have, a needle, thread, foot, machine, etc. I'm going to do this around all of the fingers, turning as I need, and eventually I'll get to the end of the sewing. At the end, I'm going to again bind off my stitching. Make sure you do that. My machine automatically has a knot function, so I will make the machine knot my thread at the end. If you don't have that, just make sure to go back and forward a little bit with your stitching to bind off the stitching at the end. The machine that I use is a Husqvarna Viking Topaz 50, and if you have something similar, these are the settings that I used for making this glove. Alright, now it's time to unpin the hand turkey from the fabric and cut out your glove. I'm cutting very close to the stitching line, only about a couple millimeters away from the stitching. This makes sure that any seam allowance isn't bulky when you flip the glove, and you're going to want to make sure that the seam allowance is not very big or bulky, especially at the fingertips. It's a little tricky clipping in between the fingers. Make sure you do not clip the stitching. If you do, you're gonna have to go in and fix it, probably by hand, which I've done before. Just be careful clipping the fabric. Make sure you do not leave a big seam allowance. You don't need a big seam allowance for these types of gloves. And once you've cut all of the fabric away, it's ready to be flipped inside out. The last step in finishing the glove is to finish off the raw edge at the wrist. I usually just turn this in once and do a really quick hem on that wrist edge. If you want to make it a little bit cleaner, you can do a rolled hem, which is when you turn the hem in once and then you turn it in again, so that you don't have any raw edges on that lower hem edge. Or if you're not really worried about this showing, you can just leave it raw and proceed to turn the glove inside out, and then your glove is done. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any additional comments or questions about making gloves, please leave a comment down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and bell notification for the next time I put up a new video. Alrighty guys, I'll see you in the next one.